Hi there. Thanks for sticking with us and joining in. This next section is for Paying for College. This will be about financial aid and scholarships. My name is Ryan West. I'm the Associate Director of Financial Aid here at Western Oregon. I've been here in the Financial Aid Office for 12 years. I think it's a great place to be. I actually completed my undergraduate degree in business administration with a minor in health way back when, before I came to work here. So I hope you enjoy your time virtually visiting us and maybe make it to campus here in the near future. So we're going to talk about how do you actually go about applying for financial aid, what sort of financial aid opportunities are out there, and what programs does Western Oregon University participate in. We'll talk about student employment opportunities. Working while you're in school is a great way to gain certainly work experience and help yourself pay for college. We'll also talk about the role of the Financial Aid Office. So what exactly do we do, and what will we communicate with you as you go through the college search process? I do want to look at some financial aid award letters as well, just so you know what to be looking at as you start to get those award notifications from different schools, and be sure that you have some tools so you can compare aid offers effectively, making sure that you're comparing apples to apples. And we'll talk about special circumstances, that there are some limitations in the financial aid system, and there's some big timing lags. So we'll talk about what you should do if you find yourself in a position where things have changed since you filled out your financial aid paperwork. So the application process, most financial aid is applied for through the FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid. This is sort of your one application for all schools to apply for federal grants, federal work study, and student loans. It's a really important part of your process, your senior year in high school and throughout your years in college. It's something that you want to make sure that you do correctly and that you do on time. Probably the most important piece of applying for financial aid, whether it be federal financial aid or whether it be scholarships, is the timeliness and quality of your applications. Most schools, including WOU, have some sort of priority deadline that you have to fill out your FAFSA by a certain date if you want to be considered for all types of financial aid. At Western Oregon, you can see on the slide, our priority deadline is February 1st. However, the need for financial aid and the interest level in students that we have at Western Oregon is great enough that sometimes there's not enough financial aid of every type to go and meet the needs of every student. So what you want to do to position yourself best to get the maximum amount of financial aid is to apply early. So the application for financial aid, the FAFSA application, becomes available each year on January 1. You want to complete it as soon as possible on or after January 1st of your senior year, and then each year following that you're going to college. So for those of you who are out watching right now and you're a senior in high school, or you're the parents of a senior in high school, this January it's time to do it. So my best advice would be New Year's Eve, watch the ball drop, have a little New Year's kiss, and then fill out the FAFSA online at fafsa.gov. The sooner you get it done, the sooner you can have that peace of mind of knowing you at least got in the line for financial aid. One of the things that people tell me when they don't apply on time, when they wait until March or April, May or June to apply for financial aid, they say it's because they didn't have their taxes done, so they didn't think they could file their FAFSA. That's absolutely not true. Think of the FAFSA as sort of a two-step process. You file as early as possible, January 1st, with your estimated income information. It's fine to guess. That's even right on the FAFSA. You'll see that you'll mark, yes, I'm estimating, but you'll get it in. The day that we always use when we determine your financial aid eligibility is what day did you originally file that FAFSA. Then later on in the spring, once you've had a chance to complete your taxes, you can log back into the FAFSA and update that. So any of your estimates that were maybe wrong or just off a little bit, or if you've had some changes of plans, which schools you want to go to, you can update all of that at that time. You'll list many schools. You can list many schools, at least on your FAFSA. If you list WOU as one of the schools that you want to get your financial aid information, we'll get that information and begin working on a financial aid package for you. I've sort of mentioned the FAFSA. You can go out there and look at it now. For those of you who are maybe a senior in high school, don't get confused though. If you go to FAFSA.gov, you'll see a version of the FAFSA, but it's for students who are in college this school year. So the one for you won't appear until January 1. Make sure you're at the right place. FAFSA.gov, it's a government application. If you make a simple mistake and go to FAFSA.com, you're going to pay $90 to fill out your free application for federal student aid, and that's definitely not something that you want to do. The FAFSA is not terribly difficult. It sort of gets a bad rap. Just take it piece by piece and answer all the questions. It is a little bit lengthy. It'll probably take 20 to 30 minutes to fill out your first time out. It's going to ask a lot of questions about your income as a student and your assets as a student. It'll ask about your parents' income and assets. It'll ask about how many people are in your household, how many of those people are going to college. There's a lot of questions in it, but just take it step by step and it's not too bad. There's some great help features on the FAFSA website, or you could certainly contact a financial aid office if you have questions and you're not sure how to get those answered. I would recommend that everyone file their FAFSA on the web. There is a printed version. My earlier slide mentioned that. There's really no good reason to use the paper version of the FAFSA anymore. It's a lot longer. It's harder to fill out. You'll be more frustrated with it. The online FAFSA is only going to ask you the questions that apply to you. So based on your earlier answers, it will use skip logic for you. It will also highlight anything that seems a little bit strange in your answers. So if you answer questions that don't totally make sense to the logic in the FAFSA on the web, it will highlight them for you, asking you to review it just to make sure that you understood the question before you move on. We'll definitely get your information faster than if you did a paper FAFSA as well, so it sort of simplifies the whole process. So FAFSA.gov is the place to be. Once you fill out your FAFSA, it usually takes a day or so for it to process, and then you'll receive an email from the federal processor telling you that a processed version of your FAFSA is available for you to review. You can log back in at FAFSA.gov and you'll see what's called a student aid report, which is essentially a transcript of your answers, showing you everything that you answered. It'll explain how to make corrections or changes if there's things that are incorrect on your FAFSA or that you just need to update. Once you have that, if you've listed our school code on it, we will also have your FAFSA information. And as long as you've filled out the FAFSA and you've begun an admission application at WOU, we will begin to correspond with you in order to put together a financial aid offer. So it is really important to know that you have to have two things: a completed FAFSA on file, and you have to at least have started an admission application at WOU. If you only send us your FAFSA and you don't apply for admission, we don't start creating you a financial aid offer until we can see that you are at least interested enough in us to start that admission application. There is a possibility that we would ask for other documents from you. If we need them, we typically will mail them and we'll email you telling you what we need, and then we need that information to determine your eligibility for financial aid. The faster you respond, the faster we can get your financial aid offer out to you. We do award financial aid to our new students first, so incoming transfer and incoming freshman students are awarded before our continuing students, as we know you're still in that process of making a final decision about where to go to college. Western Oregon participates in all the federal financial aid types. I'm not going to go through them individually, but there are grants, work study, and loans. Just to highlight a really quick overview, grants are free money, typically based on your financial situation. So these grants come from the federal government, they come from the state government, and they come from Western Oregon University itself, giving grants to our neediest students to help bring down the cost of paying for college. We will give you all the grants that you qualify for based on your FAFSA application. So you need to file early, January, no later than February 1st, but the earlier the better, in order to be eligible for the most number of grants, because grants run out the fastest of all the financial aid types. Federal work study is a type of financial aid, and we're going to talk more about that here in just a little bit when I talk about student employment opportunities on campus. Student loans, I can nearly guarantee that at any school, including Western, your financial aid package is going to include an offer of student loans. You may not have to use them. If you don't need student loans, great. That's all the better for you in the long run financially. But the reality is most students end up with some student loan debt. There's actually some good studies out there too about students who take student loans tend to graduate more on time and more often than students who have their whole education paid for maybe by mom or dad or some outside resource. So there are some good things about student loans, but at the end of the day, they are loans. You're going to pay them back, and in most cases, you'll pay them back with some interest on them. over the course of your early career years. So if you don't need them, don't take them, but most likely you're going to be offered, and in most cases students will need student loans. Parent loans, also an option to help parents take out a loan in their own name to pay for their students' financial, or to pay for their students' college experience. We'll include that information in our financial aid offers. And then WU scholarships. So scholarships are probably the most well understood type of financial aid I find generally. Free money, but it's based on talent, merit, skill, ability, something that sets you apart from other applicants. So most scholarships are not based on your financial situation. They're truly based on merit, not need. So most financial aid is based on need. Most scholarships are based on merit. There can be programs where the two are coupled together. So there are some times where scholarships do look at whether you have financial need or not. And there are some federal financial aid programs, such as the Teach Grant, that look at your academic qualifications when determining your eligibility. Let's talk about scholarships a little bit. And so these, everything that I've talked about up till this point about the FAFSA and federal financial aid is generally applicable to any school, but this is going to get really into the nitty-gritty of Western scholarship programs, what's out there, how do you apply for it. The great news is I think Western has done a good job of streamlining some of our application processes, and a great example of that would be the Presidential Scholarship Program. To be considered for our Presidential Scholarships, you do not need to fill out a separate scholarship application. All you need to do is submit a completed admission application to our Office of Admissions no later than February 28th. So for those of you, some of you may have already applied for admission. You'll certainly be considered for these scholarships automatically. For those of you who are just now considering us, I would encourage you, the sooner that you apply, the sooner you'll learn about your eligibility for the scholarship programs. We're looking for a minimum 3.4 GPA in high school and 1,000 on the SAT, looking at your reading and math scores. That corresponds to about a 21 on the ACT, for those of you who have taken that instead of the SAT. We're looking for those, combination of those two metrics. Anything better than that, certainly you'd still qualify for the Presidential Scholarship, but those are the minimums that we're looking for. One of the things that we're also looking for is in your senior year, we're looking at the courses that you took. So we want to see you take 3 units of college preparatory courses. And college preparatory courses are sort of the meat and potatoes of your high school classes. So things like English, math, science, social studies, government, foreign language, any of those sort of real academic pieces that help prepare you for college are going to count as college preparatory units. I like to joke that maybe at some point along the line Western learned that while I was here I did have a scholarship at Western Oregon, but my senior year was more made up of things like a couple of choir classes, early release, weight training, and PE. Probably not the best academic preparation for getting into college and being able to pass the math placement test. So we're wanting to make sure that you continue to challenge yourself in your senior year, even if you've maybe checked most of the boxes and are well on your way to completing that diploma. Our scholarships range from $1,500 to $5,500 per year, so it is sort of stair-stepped through the matrix depending on your test score and your GPA. We also do look at your classes that you take. So for those of you who have maybe accepted a little extra challenge by taking advanced placement or international baccalaureate courses, we recognize that those classes are more challenging, and that if you take and you receive a B in one of those courses, that may not necessarily mean that your GPA should be ranked lower than somebody who didn't challenge themselves with those classes. So that is reviewed on a per student basis in the admissions office here at Western to determine your eligibility for scholarship. So rest assured that those sorts of challenges are definitely noted when we determine your eligibility for scholarships. Our presidential scholarships are renewable for up to 4 years. You do have to maintain a 3.0 or better GPA in college and complete a minimum of 36 credit hours a year. What I'm really excited about, a new endeavor for those of you coming in this fall, would be that we have sort of a Presidential Plus program that if you challenge yourself to stay on a 4-year graduation track where you complete at least 45 credits each year rather than the minimum 36, we will actually increase your scholarship that second year by $250 more. This is a great benefit, especially when you couple it with Western's Tuition Promise Plan, where your tuition remains frozen. Your scholarship may grow if you challenge yourself and keep on a 4-year graduation track. It can actually help cost less for you to go to college than as you move on through your program. So the Presidential Scholarship, no separate application needed from your admission application. For those of you who are transfer or potential transfer students out watching today, there's something similar called our Provost Transfer Scholarship. It's maybe a little simpler. The application process is the same. You just need a completed admission application no later than February 28th. You can certainly apply now. What we're looking for in this case is that your transferable college GPA needs to be a 3.5 or better. And by transferable GPA, we're looking at the courses that transfer to Western. So the college level courses that we accept for transfer, you need at least a 3.5 in those courses. The scholarships are $1,500 per year, and it's renewable for a total of 2 years, again with the same minimum GPA and minimum credit hours of a 3.0 at Western and 36 credit hours. So you can apply for those now. Again, the same as for the incoming freshmen in the presidential program. The sooner you apply, the sooner that you would find out about your eligibility for scholarships. Some of our other programs do require some different applications and an actual separate application. The WOU General Scholarship is an online only scholarship application. It's available now. We're getting completed ones now. You have to have a 3.0 minimum GPA to qualify. And the GPA that we're looking for is sort of whatever one makes the best sense. So for those of you who are in high school looking to come as an incoming freshman, we're looking for your high school GPA needs to be at least a 3.0 to qualify for these awards. If you're a transfer student, it's your GPA that you're transferring to us. And for continuing WOU students, we're looking at your WOU GPA. The application's available right now at wou.edu/scholarships. If you go out there, you'll find it. New freshman applications are due February 28th. Actually, that's the same deadline for transfer students. I should have both of those noted there. Transfer students, freshman students, February 28th, but it's available now. Feel free to get out there and get it done. It's a fairly simple application, just has some demographic questions. It has your 4 short answer essay questions and asks for an activities resume about you. This application is how we award over 100 scholarships that are donated to Western by alumni, by foundations, by business partners, people that support the work that we're doing here. And so they may, when they have set up the scholarship, set up their own criteria for how they want the award to work as well. So these require some extra steps. The Diversity Commitment Scholarship is looking for students with diverse backgrounds or students that have contributed to a diverse community. It does require a separate application as well. You can find that application on our website. It's not yet online in that it's not submittable online, but you can get a paper application that you can either print off of our website or you can get it from admissions. We'd be happy to send that information out to you. Departmental scholarships also are available, so you'll want to check with individual departments if you have a particular major in mind. And always keep checking back our webpage. We'll be adding scholarship information as we get more information available. For those of you from Oregon, the Oregon Student Access Commission, OregonStudentAid.gov, is a state agency that compiles a whole slew of scholarship applications that are available. And basically, you can use one application for multiple scholarships. It's available now. It just launched this last week. The deadline is in March. For those of you who are watching from out of state, definitely check in with your own state. The OSAC piece is specific to Oregon students going to Oregon colleges, but most states have something similar where they're maintaining some sort of listing for this. And then anywhere else you can find scholarship information that's free and reputable. So unfortunately, there are scholarship scams out there. Be careful, be a careful consumer. If it seems too good to be true, probably stay away or run it by a financial aid office or a high school counseling office to see what sort of opportunities or what sort of things are maybe concerning to them, and if the school or the financial aid office has ever seen that scholarship program before, would be some things to consider. Anything that is a guarantee, there's no scholarship guarantees, so be sure to be a smart consumer with that. You can also check out the Federal Trade Commission has a scholarship scam webpage at ftc.gov if you want to check something out. A couple of slides about student employment. Working in college, a great way to help reduce your reliance on loans or to make some extra money for your college expenses or just for your living expenses in college. Western Oregon University has a service learning and career development office that focuses on career development for students, so helping you through perhaps choosing a major or aligning yourself well for a career later on. But they also help students find part-time jobs either on campus or off campus throughout your time. So I mentioned I'll talk a little bit about work study, and I do want to address that here, that work study is a type of financial aid. If you qualify for it, it would be in your financial aid offer. Work study is not the same as working on campus. So whether you have work study or not, you can work on campus. But there are some campus jobs that are reserved for students with work study. So if you have work study, it opens up some additional job opportunities for you as compared to a student who doesn't qualify for work study. But anyone can work on our campus. If you're a student here, 2/3 of our campus jobs do not require work study. We also have opportunities in our local elementary schools, in some federal programs, or in some after-school programs, tutoring, which is especially perfect for those of you who are thinking of going into education, a great way to bolster that resume for your application to the College of Education as you get through your education. So there are non-work study jobs, there are work study jobs. How our Service Learning Office maintains that, they maintain an online listing where you as a Western student, once you're established here, you would be able to log in and peruse the job listings at your leisure. So you can look at whatever listings appeal to you. It'll give you a brief description of the job, where it's located, what kind of hours they're looking for, what kind of skills they're looking for, and it'll explain how to apply for that job. Regardless of whether they're work study or non-work study, you get paid the same way. So you'll earn an hourly wage. It cannot be any less than the minimum wage, and you'll be paid monthly based on the hours that you worked and your wage. You use that money for how you see fit. If it is work study funds, it does have to be used for some sort of educationally related costs, so tuition fees, room and board, books, transportation, any of those things would qualify, and you could use it for those purposes. I want to look a little bit at a couple of award letters, and on the award letter you'll see a number of things about the cost of college, and everything on these next few award letters are estimates, so it's not really important that you be able to see each piece of this award letter, but it's important that you see some of the components of it. And so I'm going to bring this slide up, and basically you'll see a budget. So this is an estimate of what we think it costs a student to go to school here for 1 year. Your actual costs may be different because of lifestyle choices, where you live, how much you eat, how many credits you take, what tuition rate you pay. So there are a whole lot of things. This particular estimate is for an Oregon resident living on or off campus, so not living at home for one academic year, $22,941. So it's a sizable expense. What I really want you to see is that on this award letter, this then breaks out their financial aid that they qualify for. This is an on-time student, somebody who listened to my advice earlier in this presentation and did their FAFSA on time. They have a lot of grants, they have some work study, they have some student loans. What I want you to compare for a minute is just to see that at the end of this award letter, we're suggesting that this family, if they needed to borrow money to cover each dollar of our cost of attendance, they would have to take out a parent loan for in the neighborhood of $4,000. If this same student applied even 1 day late on the FAFSA, so they completed the FAFSA February 2nd for us, this is what their financial aid package would change to. Same student, a whole lot less financial aid, and now that Parent Plus loan has ballooned from $4,000 to nearly $10,000. It makes a huge difference to apply on time, so you must make sure that you get that FAFSA in on time. A couple of other examples. Some of you will see more of a financial aid offer like this. This is somebody who has higher expected family contribution from the FAFSA. They still qualify for financial aid, but they don't have nearly the grants that the earlier applicant did, who had a greater need level. And one other example I'll give you here is a student who is here from a different Western state under the Western Undergraduate Exchange, or WUI program. The WUI program is a program that allows students from Western states, basically if you think of from the Dakotas westward, to come to Oregon, and you don't get charged our out-of-state tuition rate. You get charged sort of a mid-rate between Oregon resident tuition and our non-resident tuition. So this is an example of that. You can see the tuition rate is higher than there's a complete financial aid package below that. So special circumstances, you're going to, when you fill out your FAFSA, if you were filling out your FAFSA for the 2014-15 school year, you're going to use your 2013 income information to complete that FAFSA. And we recognize that a lot of things can happen between 2013 and when you get here on campus in 2014, 2015. So if there's something that changed from when you're filling out your FAFSA, you're saying, you know what, this is what we did make, but we've had a change in income, we don't have that kind of income anymore, that's fine. There's no place on the FAFSA to report that, but that's that's when you want to get in contact with us in the financial aid office to sort of explain what those changes are, and we'll talk you through whether we can make an adjustment to your financial aid or not. So things like a loss of a job or a loss of an untaxed benefit, a death in the family or a divorce or separation, those are things that you definitely want to talk to us about so we can evaluate to see if it changes your eligibility for financial aid at all. If it's really simple things like, I'm not going to get those couple hours of overtime this year, probably not going to make a difference, but you're always welcome to contact us, and we'll be happy to evaluate whether that will make any difference or not. A couple of resources. Most of you in your high schools will have financial aid nights coming up. College Night in Oregon, I would recommend go to collegenights.org. If you live anywhere in Oregon, you can learn more about how to choose a college, financial aid scholarship searches. There's some great websites on here. But I want to get here to the end so I can answer some of your questions. I'm going to leave this review slide up just so you can see the different deadlines that we have coming up for scholarships and for the FAFSA itself, but I do want to answer a couple of questions here. Some of the other scholarship opportunities that I'd recommend just looking into, there are several questions about scholarships. Be asking people that have gone to college before you. So those that have graduated from your high school that you know maybe that you're still in touch with on Facebook, find out what scholarships did they get, what opportunities did they pursue. I tend to find that people do better with local or regional scholarships than the big national ones. I would still encourage you to compete for things like Coca-Cola or KFC scholars, Walmart. Those are excellent opportunities, but when you look at the applicant pools, they're usually gigantic for very few scholarships. Whereas if you focus on things like your booster club or the Kiwanis or Rotary in your local town, you might be able to make a bigger splash and have some more relevant references to what you did and how you'd set yourself apart as a scholarship applicant. How you want to pay for college, we can sort of talk you through and give you some tips and tricks of what we think are the best things to do and some things that we think maybe you should stay away from. We're always going to give you all the options for paying for college. We sort of think of ourselves as the office that gives you the buffet of how to pay for college, and then it's your job to pick and choose what works for you. What we certainly want to see you do is be going into it with a thoughtful plan, especially when you're taking out student loans. We don't want to see you just sign up for a whole bunch of student loans and then get done with your school and be saddled with an unmanageable amount of student debt. The good news about our student loans for graduates, they have generally a pretty manageable amount of student loans, but the less that you can graduate with, the better off that you'll be. I thank you for sticking with the talk here today, and if you have any questions for our financial aid office, certainly check in with our website. You can find my contact information out there as well, and I thank you for sticking with us.